Okay, so we'll start. You'll see this will be a shorter session. It's kind of a part two of the first one that we did, the Building Better Relationships, where we started to talk about the designer consultant or how to approach sales in a different way for some, or just to put words around things that you're already doing, and maybe give you a tip or trick or be cognizant of some aspects that you did naturally. So that is hopefully something that helped you out. So today we will do the part that we didn't have time to do because I just crammed too much for an hour and a half. But before that, I just want to say hi to Jessica Smalley. You remember her, a short intro. She is not the putting champion. And Kaylee Manson, who is doesn't change her flowers every day. So it's kind of switching them over as Kaylee is the putting champion and Jessica tends to change her flowers every day. But now there's in her bottom left
Now.
corner, there's a new thing that we can see over there,
Oh,
which
your
is
shining star? Or sorry.
that's perfect. So Jessica was recognized for her incredible commitment that she did over the past years. She was recognized for one because we're cheap, but she has been helping us for years and years to bring you training and much, much more behind the scenes. So without further ado, let's start this. I will share my screen, screen two, and I'll go on my PowerPoint. So apparently, Kaylee has a great dog bookend.
Yes.
So just to recap very quickly, we did the digital human touch. Uh, Change slide, please. There we go. Designer consultant, which is a series of now 5 because I talk too much, but initially we wanted to do 4 different steps, so 4 different webinars. Today's the part 2 of relating or building that better relationship. Tomorrow, there's still spots available, and on Thursday is almost full. We will start to talk about discovery, the second part, or asking the right questions. And then, in maybe a month or two, we'll go to propose, or how the art of actually connecting that need to exactly what they your products and your services that you can fill that can fill those needs. And then further down the road, we'll talk about support. What happens after the sale to keep the client happy and maybe get a second sale either through word of mouth or eventually because they want to redo the kitchen again. So those are the 4 parts. And remember, at any time, you can ask me questions, stop me, slow me down, or speed me up with the participant button at the bottom of the screen, or the chat if you want to fire off a chat. So that's what we call the consultant mindset, those 4 steps. And it was about striking a balance between that experience and the people skills. And these webinars are designed to help with that right side of the balance, the people skills. So I'm skipping ahead here because this was last time's slides. So we are answering still today the part 1, how to do I know I can trust you in your company, and we'll talk about empathy here, and then we'll move on in tomorrow and the next day, Thursday, on no need, the discovery to answer that, which is part of those 4 steps. So skipping ahead right to our Ben Duffy. So this is inspired by the story, an actual story of a guy named Ben Duffy. He was part of BBDO. It's a huge worldwide marketing agency that started in the US. And he actually used to work in the mailroom and then moved his way up slowly to CEO. So he was a pretty good employee. And one of the marks he left in that company was something that inspired a lot of people and a good number of books on how to demonstrate empathy. A lot of people often go, hey, you got it or you don't. So you're either empathetic or not. I tend to disagree with that. Some people are more empathetic naturally than others, but there are tools that you can use to actually foster or demonstrate that empathy. And the Ben Defee is actually a great one. So if I just position that in my equation, to build trust, I need credibility, and we talked about the 4 pillars in the past, and I need empathy. So this is the part where we're giving you tools to demonstrate empathy. So before we delve into this, any question, or uh, should I quiz you on last time? If you haven't been there last time, well, you'll get less points. But I feel like I would like to quiz you to start it off. Is there any questions first, though, in the chat, Kaylee and Jessica?
Nope. Good for right now.
Excellent. So, oh, I see. Jess sent a couple of registration links for the upcoming sessions. Thank you, Jess.
No
So
problem.
I love the quiz. So for those of you that were there, lots of points are available. And remember, if you have the most points, you win. It's that simple. What do you win? We don't know. We talked about credibility in the last webinar, and we had 4 main pillars. So I think Jean has a question. She raised her hand, or maybe she has an answer, and she wants to tell me one of the 4 pillars.
What if you missed the first part?
Oh, you'll be fine
Is
today.
there a way to watch that later?
I love your question. The check is in the mail, Jean. The previous
Points
session.
are on the board.
There you go. The previous session was recorded and is on our YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
So
Great.
you can go and look at it. But that's what we
Steph, I'll actually go and grab the link and post it in the chat for Jean.
can't ask for better partners. Thank you. And to help Jean, she needs to know what were the 4 pillars. Anybody can tell me one of the 4 pillars, either through chat or unmute yourselves. 2 points are available. I see
I
Stephanie
can tell
thinking.
you all of them
Oh, Amanda, go for the points.
because I have my notes in front of me, so don't think I actually remember.
That's not
West
cheating.
Coast.
It's using your tools. Shoot me one.
I believe they were propriety,
Yes,
competence, commonality, and intent.
you get points, at least 2 points for that.
That's like 10.
Yeah. Now, so Elena was saying enthusiasm. It's not one of the pillars, but it is related to one of the pillars. Which one? You got it, Elena, intent. But you're right, enthusiasm falls into intent. So you get a point for defining that intent. Now, Menda, because you had it easy, what does propriety means? What does it mean to be proper in this context?
We kind of talked about it, to show like your professional, just like polite, proper behavior with people.
Excellent. Okay, you know your stuff. Who else can give me an example of commonality? This is an easy one.
I can. I have my notes too.
Go, Emily.
Okay, so I wrote down, relating to common interests, relating to concerns and struggles with your client, and things like that.
Exactly. You share points with Stephanie because she was writing in too. Relating to your customer, I relate by using my personal kitchen, bath, basement remodeling, so I live through it too. So excellent. You both get 5 points. That's excellent. So we touched about being proper, propriety, commonality, intent. What's the other one that's missing?
Competence.
Competence. Thank you, Amanda. How do I show competence in a first conversation with a client? So let's say I'm talking to them the first time they're going into the showroom, or I'm talking to them over the phone. How would I demonstrate or establish my competence? There's no priors. It's just.
You can show your portfolio.
Oh, see, Jean, you're good. You didn't even need to follow the first one. You're giving good examples. Love it. 5 points. So yeah, share your portfolio. Good way to demonstrate competence. What else? Maybe one more thing.
Your credentials.
Credentials. Thank you, Mike. He has the experience and he was listening too. So I love it. So sometimes people think it's might be a little bit showboaty to share your credentials. It's all how you say it too, but I do share it right from the get-go. Don't do it as much today in these webinars because we've built a relationship. You start to know me a little bit more, Jessica and Kaylee too. But at the beginning, I would state how long I've been with Cabico, what I did a little bit before. So that's the first thing you can go off of before I can demonstrate it and show it through the relationship. At least I give you a little idea of my background. Oh, Stephanie has a unique situation. No pun intended. Uh, so she has designed a number of displays in her showroom, so she has a real life portfolio. I love that too. So you can actually show your work in the showroom directly and say, these were my designs. So this is why I am the best designer for you. Excellent. So you've all listened. You have summarized it really, really well. So the Ben Duffy itself, that's the complement. I've built credibility by competence, propriety, well, I'll say it in order: propriety, competence, commonality, and intent. Those were the from least to most impact. Now, how do I show empathy? Oh, any question here or comments? Oh, it's still Jessica sharing with great stuff with you on the chat for the video for Gene. So how do I, oh, just to finish on the Ben Duffy story, he basically built this idea of anticipating customer concerns or customer needs, converting them into questions, and then preparing answers. So it's basically, in a nutshell, he created a little protocol or process to put yourself in the customer's shoes and share with your customers what concerns you might have if you were doing it with yourself, and then putting that on the table and validating if those are real concerns or not. So sometimes when I share this with people, they go, how aren't you creating concerns with this if none were there? If not, if done properly, no. It'll validate. And if they do hang on that concern, it would have been a latent concern. So you might have not think of it from the get-go, but it would come. So first thing I would like to ask you, because we'll have a little activity on this, and I'll give you more details. Anybody in the room here, the virtual room, have market concerns? So stuff that you get asked or people are concerns over or over, and you can basically say, oh, there's a good chance he or she will ask me about this. I see Stephanie nodding. Can you unmute yourself and share a concern that you typically have in your market?
Yeah, well, we just had my big job that I signed right in the middle of COVID. We started yesterday, but before they signed a contract and gave us a very large amount of money, the husband actually wanted to speak directly with our company owner to ask, like, hey, I know a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses might not make it through. What happens if we give you all this money? Like, are you going to be around in a couple months? And my boss was able to kind of go through his concerns. He's like, we've been around for 45 years. Obviously we've never seen a pandemic, but we've seen a lot of other market ups and downs and twists and turns, and, kind of going through some of those like business practices that, are even above the employees' heads.
Yep.
But that was the one right off the bat that they were concerned, and I think that was valid.
Excellent. So that's a newer one, which is super cool. Well, it's not cool that they have those concerns, but for me, as a facilitator, I like to hear new concerns and build my own baggage with them. So we'll keep that in mind. Any other concerns from other people that you have in your market? Emily, I'm sure you have some stuff. I'm picking on you. Any rebuttals that your clients sometimes come up with and say, hey, I'm not too sure about this or that?
Can you build it on time?
Build in on time. Yes, timelines, oftentimes a market concern. So how would they voice it, Mike?
Well, under the current conditions, we're going to do our very best in order to meet the timelines, but we have probably supply chain delays at the moment. So please anticipate there could be a week or two lag in between each stages in order to make sure that you do get your dream kitchen.
Kitchen. Love it. So this is an answer, a nice answer that we can give. So how do I work a Ben Duffy based on that? And we'll give more examples also a little later, but I'll use one or both of these just to give you an example. And following this, what I'll do is I'll actually ask you to create one. So creating a Ben Duffy, the first step, as is listed on screen, is anticipate the customer needs. So it could be one example, timing of the project. The other example from Stephanie could be, will you be there in a couple of months? I'm giving you a huge deposit. Am I going to lose it? So you anticipate that. So you know these two things. And the next step is to convert into questions. I like question. So if you have 5 or 6 big concerns, that would become 5 or 6 questions. But I like to start small. So what is one of the big one that you're feeling? Stephanie says, well, being present. So how can I put that into a question form that I can ask my client? So I don't need to wait till my client brings it up. Again, this is all about building trust and lowering tension. So we talked about task tension and relationship tension. So if I have a lot of concerns from the get-go, I'm tense and I won't open up and share everything with you. I might think small because I don't want to give a big deposit. I might think small because I don't want a huge timeline. So I might be constraining myself in my answers, not being completely open. So I might need to throw the question out there. So the Ben Duffy question is about how can I convert this into an empathetic question? So one way of not doing it could be asking the clients, hey, closing up shop, giving a big deposit and then we closing up, is that concern? So that would be like the worst way of positioning it. But there's other ways to ask the question. So we are not cornering our client or making them feel uneasy about it. So one of the things I love to do there is use a third party. So I can say I've talked to many clients in or several clients in my market, and some of them have brought up the concern that they once they do a deposit, they want to make sure that the company they're giving a deposit to has the backbone to weather the COVID and they do not lose their deposit. Is that a concern going forward with this for you? So I'm using third party. I'm not saying, hey, are you scared? No, I'm not scared, but I don't want to deal with you. So I'm saying other people's thought that would be an issue. Is that an issue going forward? So I'm trying, if I feel that there's something there, I'm trying to address the elephant in the room and say, hey, but using a very, very smooth question where I'm not saying you're doing it wrong, you shouldn't have it as a concern, and I'll phrase it carefully. I won't say, most of my clients have this concern. I'll say some of my clients have this concern, or a couple of my clients have mentioned this to me, and I want to make sure that is that a concern for you going forward? And then sometimes the answer will be no. Move on. You're good. You're golden. Move on to building a relationship and starting asking great questions. But if it is a concern, say, yeah, you know what? I've been stung before. I was with this company, and they were supposed to do my pavement, and they just folded up, and I had to give them a huge deposit. Well, then the third part, have an answer prepared. So if it's a market concern, craft a great question. And this can be something we can help out today, but it's always very useful to do it as a team too. How can we ask this to be non-confrontational, smooth questions? What's the best third party to use? What would be the keywords so the client feels okay saying yes or no to that? And then what would be the best answer? How can we frame this so it makes sense? In your case, Stephanie, was to talk with the owner, but maybe going forward, you can take a couple of key points from the owner and address it on your end right away. And if it's still a concern, then say, you know what, I can actually have you talk with our owner. He'll confirm and add details, but at least you can manage part of this right from the get-go with key information that work well. And those answers get refined over time. So if it's the first time you're encountering more of a newer issue, like the COVID questions, you might need to go a couple of times to say, you know what, when I changed this word and that phrasing, it actually echoed better with clients. It's more positive. Okay, let's go for that, and then sharing amongst the team. And the same thing with Mike's question. He has encountered it more often than not, so his answer is pretty good. So that's where we can inspire ourselves from that answer and integrate it in our questions. Does that make sense, that framing of that process?
Yeah.
Cool. I see a lot of nodding. I've been using this in the past a lot. I also wanted to identify maybe a couple more. I know Kaylee had a couple, or at least one more potential Ben Duffy in mind.
A lot of the ones that I found came up the most had to do with product and people's preconceived notions of things. A huge one would be MDF versus wood when you're talking about paint. Another one, if you're doing particle versus plywood construction, those two. And that's exactly how I bring it up. Like, this is a question I get a lot about this, and just to give a little bit of education about it, or to bring it up if they've seen both or heard anything about it. And usually it's like, oh, isn't MDF really bad? Or that's what they make IKEA cabinets out of, or something like that. And then you can open the conversation a little bit more. And it was the truth. It is something that came up all the time. So it makes it easy to bring it up.
So that's an excellent point. So in my mind, one of the things that could be useful is right now, you can take note of the question or the concern that Mike raised, Stephanie, Kaylee, and start to build a list of those concerns. And you might not need that list, but at least listing him will make him a little bit more, will be more in your consciousness, and you'll be able to work a little bit more. And you might actually take one and go, hey team, let's work on this one. I have trouble with this one, or I feel we have gains that we can do by working on this question. So what I'd like to do in the next step, if I can change the slide, in the meantime, as I'm creating those rooms, think of a concern you'd like to work on. And in the rooms, pick one, have a couple of ideas, choose one, and I'll ask you to create a Ben Duffy question. So make it soft, trying to have maybe a third party. I've heard from my clients, some clients have mentioned that type of phrasing, or you can surprise me and have another soft way of asking a question. And then prepare a couple of key points for answers. Because when we'll come back, you'll share it, and I will be the client that has this concern. I'd like for you to ask me the question, the Ben Duffy question, and then manage my concerns with a couple of key points or conversation, as Kaylee had mentioned. Are we okay with that procedure or the way of working? Perfect. So think about those questions, and I'll split up the rooms. So Elena will be in one room. Just making sure I'm putting you with mic'd people. And then Mark.
Do you want me and Kaylee to sing some background music and entertain people while
I
we're
go
waiting?
right ahead.
Live singing, my specialty.
And Amanda. 3. Okay. There we go. So I'll open it. Kaylee, Jessica, and me will hover around the rooms, see if you need help. We are 3. There's 3 rooms. So I'll be in room 1. Kaylee, you can help room 2, but you'll be able to move back and forth. And Jessica, how about room 3 for you? Okay, so I'll open all rooms. So you've been invited to join. You can go in your rooms, have a quick discussion on what Ben Duffy question you want to work on, and then work on the question. Okay, so is everybody back? I think so.
Mark Kaufman.
Just not Mark.
Mark. Where are you, Mark? Okay, so first off, what's your sense of doing this exercise? Even before we go into giving answers, was it hard? Was it useful? Any sense of the challenges, or just doing this little tidbit?
I think
Anything that?
because I don't understand. Like,
I'm sorry.
said I think it was hard because I don't think I really understand empathy, but overall I think I found it helpful
Good.
information that I can use moving forward, even if I don't necessarily understand.
Well, that's good of you to bring forward with that and go, hey, that's kind of not my thing. And usually doing a Ben Duffy for the first time is actually really tough. Understanding the concept, super easy. Working it, it's much tougher. Am I identifying an issue that the Ben Duffy sticks with? Because it doesn't work with everything. It's just like a tool. I don't use a hammer for screwing stuff in. It won't work. So if it's a very factual thing, not a lot of emotion involves, we kind of feel this falls apart, which is normal. Ben Duffy is when there's emotional. So pricing tends to be emotional. Design in general tends to be emotional, but you will see that it works better for certain things and less for others. So that's why I want to address that by asking you how was the feeling there. Anybody else had it worked great for me, I'm nailing this, or it was a challenge for these reasons? Any other feedback before we move into the answers?
For me, it was a challenge in that I can anticipate concerns, but then I want to immediately give them the answers to make them feel good. But it's I assume that's their concern, and so I give them too much too soon. It's whoa, this wasn't even something I thought of, maybe. So it's like you said, Stefan, take a step back, just see if it's a concern, and then decide if you need to go into more detail.
You bring a great point. I haven't mentioned it to you, but between step 2 and 3, so 1, anticipate, find the issues. 2, create a question that is non-threatening. But between 2 and 3, a lot of people go, is this a concern for you? Because you know what? We have these things, or we have this pricing, or we're going to shut up. Between 2 and 3, the most important step is shut up.
Listen.
And listen, you're entirely right, Mike, because I would do that mistake all the time. Like, I'm getting good at this Ben Duffy. So I'm like, woo, is this a concern for you? Because shut up. Like, is this a concern for you? Yes. And this is why. Because in the listen that Mike is saying, you will know which points to bring and which one to drop. Because you'll see, okay, this is why the concern is there. These are the points I'll bring to them from my key points. Cool. So points to Mike too, points to Emily for sharing that, points to Stephanie for sharing it. So now I lost count. Kaylee is much better at keeping count.
Don't worry, I have it written down.
I knew it. I knew it.
Steph, Amanda, and Emily are all tied with 10.
Andy gets 5 points. It was part of the negotiations earlier.
Okay, so then,
So,
never mind.
spokesperson for breakout room 1. And who, I can't remember, was it Emily?
Yeah.
Yes. So what was the concern you wanted to address?
The concern was do you want me to just go through my thing?
Well, just name the concern, then we'll go through the question. And
Okay.
the way I'd like to do it, if you're okay with that, Emily, is by sharing it with the rest of the room. They can then give us some feedback and go, I love this, this we could tweak. Are you open to that?
Sure.
Cool. Because I do want to be respectful. If you want to just try and say, no, I'm good with just trying it, but the feedback's a little much, I'll respect that. But if you're open to that feedback, we'll give it to you too.
Okay. So the
Cool.
concern was Cabico is new to us, and so clients as in designers and builders that we work with, seeing that we're taking on a new line and being concerned about that line's quality and timeliness that they're used to getting from us.
So that I think that's a cool Ben Duffy that I didn't think about before. They've worked on 2 or 3 of them, so they just decided to pick that one. They were really productive. So go ahead, Emily, share the question. How would you talk to me as a builder, or talk to me as a new designer, or a designer we're switching over to Cabico?
So I would start with saying, so I understand. So that we've been working together a long time, and we've just brought on this new line of cabinetry, Cabico. So we've had some other designers be concerned about if the quality is at the same level of what you're used to getting from us, and if the timeliness and lead times are at the same level. Is this a concern for you?
Definitely, it is. I've been burned before by going to brand X or brand Y, and I had to delay projects and lost clients. So yeah, definitely a concern. How can you calm my nerves?
Well, and then I would just start to talk about it. I don't know the structure of Cabico, actually, to be honest with you at this point.
Yep.
But I would just, reiterate their lead times are 8 weeks, and then they're very timely. They get shipped, and we never miss a date. You can count on us, type of thing. Just like you're used to from us. So I would just,
And to address the quality issues, how would you position that?
the quality issues, I'd say, with the 3 different lines that Cabico carries, we have a lot of great design opportunities to showcase new options and finishes. So the quality is really remarkable and gives us lots of flexibility.
And why is the quality good? What makes it good? How can I be safe that good today will be good tomorrow?
Cabico's been around for a long time, and so they're very, I don't know.
That's
This
good.
is where I don't know.
But that's great. I think you built a great Ben Duffy question, and you gave a couple of good answers. But Stephanie, I know you wanted to jump in and add a little bit. Go ahead.
I like to talk about the lifetime warranty of the 3 different cabinet lines. So even if you're getting Essence, MDF, particle board, you get the lifetime warranty, which they thought it was going to fall apart in 5 years. They wouldn't do that. So,
yeah.
Excellent. I think that's a great point. Anybody else wants to add another point? And I love it because we're sending flowers to Cabico, so I want to spend a lot of time on this. Any other points?
Our product.
Go, Mike.
We backed with the warranty. They're confident enough to offer that type of warranty, so they do back up their product.
Excellent. And if I can give you a little insight, and you decide if you want to use it or not, there's quality checks at all departments and a final quality check before it's going out the gate. So we catch a lot of things internally if there's things to catch. Will there be sometimes something that comes out not perfect? Definitely, it happens, unfortunately. That's where the warranty backs it up. But we do have checks at all departments and a final check before going out to make sure that we catch those things internally before sending out. That might be one of the reasons why we're so confident in putting a lifetime warranty on
Got
it.
it.
So,
Yeah.
So hopefully that can add to the answer too.
I also talk about the soft close that really, I think people know of that. Said all the cabinets come with the soft close doors and drawers as a standard. Well, I say it's a standard. I know in essence it is.
It is.
It is.
It is.
No, it's a standard in Essence.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because I know there's the 2 different rollouts in Essence.
There's the. It's not the same brand, but it is all soft close.
Yeah.
I talk about that too because I think that's something people are aware of already.
Cool. Like it. Any other points we want to add to this great Ben Duffy? Oh, Andy is writing. I tell them that we did a ton of research on different lines, and this is the one that we selected. So between my installers, other dealers, and in the country. So you can use your experience too, being we've done research, we've looked at different ones, we've looked at lead times, quality, we've experienced different ones, and this is why we chose Cabico. Cool. Love it. We're doing great. So thank you, Breakout Room 1. And you can always take note of that. We will also put this up on the web afterwards. So if you want to come back to this, you jump to an hour, 12-minute in, and you'll get all the answers. Margaret is saying service parts is great. So if there is a problem, we are there to turn over with a corrective action really quickly and get you service parts. Sounds good. Breakout room 2. Who's your spokesperson?
I guess maybe that would be me.
Amanda, what was your concern?
We settled on budget because Stephanie and I both work for companies that sell not just Cabico, but other manufacturers of cabinets. So it's trying to help by having the budget discussion, narrow them down, even within Cabico, like what series would they best fall into. So then you know maybe to help yourself what you should and shouldn't be showing them.
Cool. So what's the question? How would you talk to a client where you feel that's a concern?
Well, I normally just ask them like, hey, what's your budget? But that's not very gentle, I guess, empathetic.
You might get client actually clam up with, especially with the budget.
So we decided to phrase it more like, have you been thinking about your budget and how much you'd be comfortable spending? It's recommended to invest 10% of the value of your home, but there's other factors that would play into that. Maybe how extensive is your wish list? How long are you planning to stay in the home? So just some things to start thinking about.
And what's your question to me in that? I like the lead up. I like that it's a much softer approach to it. So
well, the question is like, have you been thinking about your budget and what you'd be comfortable spending?
Okay. And well, yeah, I have a limited budget. And I want to make sure that whatever I invest with you guys, Jean had to go, sorry. She just wrote in the chat. So I'll just push it a little further saying, yeah, I do have concerns about this. And before I want to let you into the amounts I want to put, how can I be sure that you guys will use this the best way and give me the most value for my buck?
Well, for me, it's best to understand what is your wish list and ultimately the extent of the renovation. Because it's fine for me to just take your $40,000 budget and spend it on cabinets. But what I need to know from you, does that also have to include appliances? Are you planning on moving the location of things, or is it a simple, replace and everything's kind of staying where it is? Maybe 5 years ago you bought new appliances, so you're not doing that part of it. So we just need to talk about sort of what does this reno entail, and then I can better help guide you to get you what you want as far as cabinetry, but help ensure that we're encompassing everything that you need. Like, I'm here to help guide you through that process.
Cool. Anybody else wants to chime in on the pricing? Because I think everybody can help with that one. Nobody wants to chime in with the pricing. It's a minefield.
It's a sticky subject. It's hard. It's a hard question to ask, but it's one that you have to ask it.
Exactly. And the better you ask it, the softer you are, you're building that trust, they'll open up more. I want to try stuff. I by no means think I have the best answer. I'm discovering this world still after 1 year in the company. But one of the things, or one of the ways I tried, because Breakout Room 1 did try that question also among the different ones. And one of the ways I was trying to wrap my head around it was to try something like, I have several clients that are budget minded and want to make sure that the dollars they put in a kitchen redesign has the best bang for their buck and the best value for their buck, and want to make sure that as designers we do the best job at optimizing their kitchen. What's your feeling about that? I won't ask necessarily is it a concern for you, because everybody will say yes. What's your feeling about that? I'll go more of an open-ended question than that one. So I just want them to know that I'm conscious about this, and they can talk to me about how they feel about making sure they're bang for the buck. So they might go, definitely, that's a concern. I've seen people trying to, put as much accessories in there to boost the price up in the past. I didn't get great designs from B or C. So definitely I want to make sure that you guys are on the ball and are not just taking 100% of the budget I'm putting there because I opened up and said this amount. Would that question make sense? And my concern as a client voicing it, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
so.
no,
And
partially?
a couple other things that we kind of just in our talking about it is could be part of the conversation even leading up to the budget question is, asking like, have you renovated before? Which would give you even an idea of like how much do I need to educate you about the process or whatever. And then also like, yeah, like how long are you planning on staying in the home? Like if you're just flipping it, maybe you don't obviously want to invest maybe 10% of the value of your $1 million home or whatever, right? So, but that could all be part of the conversation leading up to like the final big, like, how much money are you going to give me?
Definitely.
So
And
it
one
can
of the
better
things,
help you phrase the question then too.
yes. And there's other stuff that should happen also before that question. Keep in mind that we'll work on asking great questions tomorrow, and the budget is one of those great questions to ask. But I need to build trust before going there. So I might use a Ben Duffy early on to ask them about their sensitivity to making sure that every dollar is optimized and hearing them about it. And I can then go on it. I just want to reassure you, Amanda, that as designers, that'll be one of my jobs to make sure that I make sure every dollar you want to put in there fits within what you want. If there's ways we can save a couple of bucks here because there's less of an impact for your needs and tastes so that we can put in somewhere else or just save you a couple of dollars, I will be there to do that. And I'll just want to make sure that, Amanda, you are comfortable. I will not ask you about the budget right now because it wouldn't be appropriate. I want to ask you a lot more questions first to better understand your needs, even before we can discuss budget. By understanding your needs thoroughly about the sizes, the rooms, your needs, your desires, the accessories you put in there, then I'll have a much better idea, and I'll give you options within there so that you can go on budget, a little below budget, and if you want to go a little crazy on certain items, I will be there to accompany you on that. But rest assured that any design points, I will make sure I give you options so that I am conscious about using your dollars as best as possible. So then I'll move on to asking tons of questions about their kitchen. At least they know I told them I don't want to talk about budget right now because I know it's not the right time. There's much more questions to ask before we get there. If ever you're open and you want to give me the budget right away, for sure. But there's many more questions I need to ask you before we can spend it wisely. How does that sound as a way to work it? Because to me, going for budget at the beginning of a conversation where we're building relationships too early.
Well, I was going to say, like, budget is the last question I ask them. Like, dude, after all the other stuff, then I'm like, okay, and how much money are you going to give
But
me?
if I feel that the client is anxious and I know because of their past, what we've heard about them or my market, that everybody's super price conscious, I can put that Ben Duffy right then and there. So you know what? We'll talk about budget a little later. I do have a lot of my clients that are concerned about using their dollars the best and making sure we give them options to be able to respect that budget. What's your feeling about that? Well, yes, no, perfect. So let's not talk about budget right now. But I'll make sure that we invest your dollars. I still have to have an answer on why I'll respect their budget or how I'll make sure that we save as much as we can, and then we'll move forward asking them questions. So we release that tension.
Right.
Where we won't talk about budget right now because I need more before even giving you an idea or going for different brackets. Sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything from the room though to add? Correct me. Add stuff. Do things differently? No? Radio silence? Breakout room 3. Who's your spokesperson? Breakout room 3?
Yeah, I'm Kara.
Hey, Kara.
Hello.
What's your
We
concern?
talked about, what's that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you were saying?
We talked about pricing as well, but we
Aha.
kind of took it on the angle as a lot of our competition is the local guy who's building in their shop.
Oh,
So our question we came up with for pricing, we've had clients in the past whose importance is the value and being respectful of the budget. How important is that and the priority of that in your project as well?
see, you could have said that and spared me a lot of time because this is a wonderful question.
Wow,
That was beautiful.
You made me sweat, work hard. You had it all along. Love the question. Love it. Now, let's say I'm the client. I go, hell yeah, that's a concern. What do you tell me then? How do you manage that?
Well, to kind of also offshoot that is a lot of times we're probably going to be higher than the competition because they are the local guy. So some ways to try to combat that is to talk about our state-of-the-art finishing process. Again, our warranty, a lot of the things that we've already talked about. Lead times, consistency, projects being complete on time, a consistency in the cost as well. And I always like to say we're kind of setting the trend, whereas the local guy, and again, never bashing the local guy, but he's
Exactly.
following the trend.
So I think you raise a key point there, Kara. Positioning myself is never at the expense of somebody else. I don't want to bash a local guy. Maybe the local guy is great at certain things, but we're different for these reasons. So if you want a lower price and you're okay with the local guy's designs and their capacity to give you the delays that you want, he might be a good answer. But if you want to make sure you have consistency in the lead times, if you want to make sure that there's good customer support through that, if you want the designer to be there from the point A to point Z, and then make sure that if there is things that we need to correct, that there's a quick turnaround time to get you those parts, that's how we're different from the smaller guys that might have a little bit more of an issue with that. So I love your answer. Never bash the little guys, but I'll position myself. This is why we're good. Might be a good choice for certain of your aspects with a little guy. I won't say no, they should never have any business. No, there's a reason. They're there, they fill a market need. We're different. So depending on your needs, we can fit better yours, or the little guy might fit better yours. But this is the reasons why we're different. If you like that, let's work together.
Awesome.
Sounds good?
Sounds great.
Thank you, Karen. Now I know why you weren't giving feedback on the other ones. You had all the great answers too that you wanted to share.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. So, Kaylee, we have to attribute points to all of them. I think they worked great on questions. And I like the fact that, some had really good questions, need to work a little bit on the answers. Other had good answers, need to work a little bit more on the questions. This is just a first step. Please share this within your teams and say, hey, we did this little exercise where we tried to anticipate needs or concerns, and we phrased it in a way that's non-threatening, that releases tension if the client's all climbed up, and we've looked at these answers. Now, where can we work this to make it even better? And then come back and share it with us. Send it to training at Cabico. We want the best. And I know you guys will produce it. And if we do get a lot of returns in the future, because you can talk to me in the next webinars and say, hey, we worked on this and that, we might do another, just a top 10 concerns and how to address them based on the great work that designers have built in those questions and answers. Sounds good? Okay, so we're pretty much towards the trail end of this. Let me just share with you the relate summary. You still see my screen, right?
Nope.
Nope. Oh, that's why. Let me share it again. There we go. That's why I didn't have my controls earlier. So to summarize, we did credibility a couple of weeks ago. We started with a PPP statement. We demonstrate propriety, competence, commonality, intent. And when the need is there, it's not always there, but when the need is there, I feel there's tension, the client is clammed up. I know a lot of market questions around this. I'll use the Ben Duffy. I'll use that hammer when the hammer's needed, and I'll use that soft touch or that screwdriver when I need a screwdriver, the proper tool for the proper job. And this will ensure you build trust. Then you can move into the question section. So again, on that PowerPoint that you already had in the past, but we'll drop again in the chat if Jessica can be so nice to do that. So if you don't have it still with you, we'll make it available again.